You waste significant processing power attempting to decipher her motivations. You label it mind reading. This is an error in perception. Her operating system is not yours. It runs on an older, more fundamental algorithm. The biological imperative. Survival, genetic propagation, resource acquisition. Her internal logic is pre-programmed, a complex series of if-then statements honed over millennia of biological competition. Every behavioral output, every emotional modulation you witness is a response to environmental cues and, critically, to your perceived value. Her mind isn't an enigma. It's a predictable system executing a preloaded script. This biological script dictates her responses to perceived threats, opportunities, and the fluctuating sexual market value of her partner. It's not a mystery you need to solve. It's a code you need to read. Your attempts to apply male rational frameworks to female emotional responses are like trying to debug a mainframe with a screwdriver. You're misinterpreting the language. Understand this: she doesn't think like you. Her brain is wired to optimize for a different set of outcomes. Your emotional sovereignty depends on recognizing this fundamental divergence. You interpret her actions as emotional volatility. This is a fundamental miscalibration. Understand this: her operating system runs on a singular, non-negotiable directive. That directive is resource acquisition and optimal genetic pairing. This is not about love or feelings in the romantic sense you perceive. This is a biological imperative. This imperative is hypergamy. It is not a choice she consciously makes. It is an ancient, deeply embedded algorithm designed over millennia to ensure the propagation of the strongest genetic material and the most stable environment for offspring. Her entire behavioral output is dictated by this program. Her system conducts a continuous, objective assessment of your value. This assessment is cold and calculating. It quantifies your financial resources, your social standing, your physical capacity, and the subtle, unconscious markers of your genetic fitness. These are not mere preferences. These are critical data points for her internal calculus. Her engagement, her commitment, her very presence in your life is a direct function of this ongoing evaluation. You are a resource. You are a genetic pool. She is an algorithm, constantly optimizing for maximum return on investment for her own biological imperative. When your value, as perceived by this system, declines, when your financial status erodes, your social standing diminishes, or your physical capacity falters, her script dictates disengagement. This is not a personal slight. This is the system recalibrating. She didn't leave because of your feelings. She left because your value dropped. This is biological competition, stripped of sentimentality and human projection. Her actions are not emotional whims. They are logical responses from a purely biological standpoint, designed to optimize her own survival and the potential success of any offspring. This is the hypergamous imperative. It is the core evolutionary driver. Her behavior is a direct output of her evaluation of your sexual market value, your SMV. When that metric declines, her programming initiates a search for a more optimal pairing. This is the raw code of the relationship matrix. Your value, from her biological perspective, is the sum of your resource provision and your perceived ability to protect. When that calculus shifts, when your utility diminishes, the script initiates. You will observe a precise sequence, not a chaotic reaction. This is not her losing feelings. It is her system re-evaluating optimal survival strategy. The initial phase is a subtle but pervasive loss of respect. Her deference diminishes. Your directives lose their authority. This precedes the emotional withdrawal. She creates distance, a barrier against shared vulnerability. Intimacy becomes a scheduled event, then a negotiation, then an absence. This is not arbitrary. It is a resource drain for her to invest emotional energy in a declining asset. From this point, her biological imperative shifts towards securing options. This manifests as an exploration of alternative resource providers. You might call it cheating. She perceives it as strategic diversification, an adaptive response to a perceived vulnerability. Her internal framework prioritizes securing optimal future resources, not adherence to an emotional contract with a devalued partner. The final stage is disengagement. This is often preceded by a series of precise tests. She will push boundaries, challenge your frame, provoke reactions to her withdrawal. This is not manipulation in the common emotional sense. It is an evolutionary assessment. Can you still command respect? Do you possess the resolve to re-establish your value? Or are you a compliant source, easily discarded? Her assessment of your enduring sexual market value is underway. Should her alternative resource fail, or should your value signals demonstrably increase, a potential re-engagement may occur. Understand this clearly. This is not a return to love as you understand it. This is a cold reassessment of resource availability, a recalibration of the optimal path for her biological imperative. The script dictates that utility drives engagement, not sentiment. You have been conditioned to believe her internal world is a labyrinth of profound emotional complexity, an intricate tapestry woven from elusive feelings and unfathomable desires. This narrative, pervasive and comforting to those who prefer illusion to insight, is a smokescreen. It serves to obscure the underlying, simple biological drivers that dictate the vast majority of her behavior. Her indirect communication is not a sign of deep emotional nuance. It is an evolutionarily optimized strategy. For the female organism, direct confrontation historically carried, and still carries, higher biological risk. Exposure to threat, whether physical or social, is a resource drain. To mitigate this, an adaptive mechanism evolved: testing and subtle signaling. These are not random acts. They are calibrated instruments designed to gauge your strength, your frame, your emotional sovereignty, without her having to expose herself to immediate, direct threat. She is not articulating a need, she is testing a boundary. She is not expressing a feeling, she is observing your reaction to an imposed stressor. Her emotions are often the output of this internal script, the result of her biological operating system processing data points, not the input for her decisions. Her perceived emotional volatility is often a functional display, a means to assess your stability, your resolve, and ultimately your sexual market value as a provider and protector. Strip away the sentimental narrative and you will observe a predictable algorithm. Her displays are adaptive strategies, meticulously developed over millennia to navigate complex social dynamics and assess a male's utility without incurring personal risk. There is no chaos, only an illusion of complexity designed to mask a fundamental simplicity. Recognize the script. Stop reacting. Start engineering. You do not read her mind through empathy. That is a miscalculation. You read her mind by observing her actions, by correlating her behaviors to the foundational biological script we have discussed. Her pattern is ancient, ingrained. Your power is not in changing that pattern, it is in understanding its predictable trajectory. Your power is in understanding this biological competition, then engineering your own. Your control is not over her decisions or her emotional landscape. Your control is over your own value, over your resources, over your emotional state. This is emotional sovereignty. It is the only metric that matters. Stop reacting to her script. Stop attempting to decipher fleeting emotional signals. Those are distractions. Start engineering yours. Enhance your sexual market value. Secure your financial resources. Reclaim your emotional bandwidth. You become the architect of your own life, not a pawn in a pre-written drama. Self-pity is for the weak. Control is for the architect. The game is rigged, but only for those who don't know the rules. Stop reacting. Start engineering.